Why is our 269 October All Access special one of our best deals ever? Let us count the ways. 5 college football Saturdays, 5 NFL Sundays, full month of MLB playoffs, NHL starts October 12th, NBA season starts October 19th, plus any other sport your favorite handicap releases, all for under $9 a day. As an added bonus, sign up early and get the rest of September included for free.
Tuesday, October 5th, start of the Major League Baseball playoffs. This is WagerTalk Today for Tuesday, October 5th. I'm Steve Merrill, joined by Teddy Covers as always. And as you know, Teddy, it's also $2 Tuesday. And that means we're going to have the $2 capper with us here in a few moments. And that's Tony Finn, WagerTalk.com. We're going to talk about his $2 big play for Tuesday, but more importantly, going to look at a couple free games for this weekend. College football, he's going to look at FSU, UNC, and also going to look at the Bears and Raiders. Raiders off that Monday nighter loss last night. Going to take a fresh look at that game for the first time here on the show with Tony Finn. Also, Carmine Bianco, going to look at some soccer. All you soccer lovers out there, we're going to get 3 games from Carmine. And then, of course, Dave Sharapan from the Las Vegas Strip to close us out. We'll talk all big picture stuff with Dave. Baseball playoffs, of course, start tonight, as I mentioned. Before that, though, Teddy, let me throw it to you. Teddy Covers, WagerTalk.com. One game last night. When there's a lightning or a weather delay, you would think lightning would help the Chargers. They went right down and scored. They ended up winning the game. What was your takeaways from that heavy Monday night card where we had one regular season game?
Oh, hey, I mean, one game is one game. I didn't have any action on the game. So for me, it was just watch it in the background and enjoy. But there was something that really stood out to me after the game. And it happened only when I was just talking to someone else who didn't watch the game. Look at the final score. Oh, Chargers blowout. They're up 21-0 at the half. At 28-14 final. Chargers easy. There are so many games that come down to 1 or 2 high-impact plays. One guy missing a block, can make all the difference. Even with 22 guys in the field for a full 60-minute game, there were, 131 plays last night. And one guy missing one block changed that whole game. That was the difference in the game. It was 21-0 at the half, and then it was 21-14, and the Raiders are driving again to tie the game, and it's 3rd and short. And one guy missed one block. 3rd and short turns into a sack, which turns into a missed field goal, which turned to the momentum shifting back to the Chargers. And that was the game. Really, that one play was all the difference. So when you're looking at final scores trying to go, comfortable Chargers victory, not necessarily one play can make all the difference, even in a game with 131 plays being run between the two teams. What about you, Steve? What did you learn last night?
Well, we talked about this a little bit on the show yesterday. I learned that was an important win for the Chargers because Brian Leonard talked about the look-ahead game with the Browns this weekend on Wager Talk Today yesterday. And, I pointed out as we were leaving that game that, Chargers have a really tough schedule. They opened with the football team, Washington Redskins. They were, a playoff caliber team last year. They got the win on the road as a dog. Cowboys, Chiefs, and Raiders on a Monday nighter. Now they play Cleveland, who's playing excellent. They've got Baltimore, New England after that. This is a 3-1 team, but they've got a really tough schedule. And, defensively, Teddy, maybe a little bit better on paper last night. But like you said, that game was a little bit closer than the score indicated. The weather delay, also teams go down and score right away. It's amazing how they're flat for the next quarter and a half often in football games. Big picture takeaway, I think we have to wait and see on the Chargers still. I'm not sure they're a true 3-1 team. What are your thoughts on the Chargers going forward, Teddy?
Well, there's something we have to talk about the AFC West, all right? Because we're at the quarter pole of the season. And who's in last place in the AFC West? Yeah, that would be the Kansas City Chiefs. They're the last place team right now. That's surely worth noting at this stage of the season. Curious about those divisional odds for KC. If you like the Chiefs to bounce back and win the AFC West, today might be a real good day for line shopping for Kansas City to win that division.
Yeah, and by the way, the Chiefs covered for only the second time in about a year this past weekend. You and I both talked about that on the show Friday. Depending on which closing line you use, they had either 1 or 2 point spread covers since the middle of last season. And, of course, my Fade the Public NFL video, they once again were one of the most public plays this week, despite that terrible point spread record. But they got it done finally. So we'll see if they can turn it on. They were winning a lot of games, but not covering because they have been a very public team, to say the least. Let's get to a very public handicapper, and that's Tony Finn. The public loves Tony Finn, and that's why he's the $2 capper at WagerTalk.com. $2 Tony, $2 Tuesday. Tony Finn, welcome to the show. Hey, without any further ado, what do you have for $2 Tuesday? WagerTalk.com.
I have a play for $2 Tuesday. It happens to be a college Saturday mid-afternoon college Saturday event, and if it's just $2 Tony, if they don't know anything about what we do, then that could be construed many ways, couldn't it?
It could, Tony. So the $2 Tuesday handicapper gets named because he's the hottest handicapper around. And I know we had Marco Angelo on yesterday, and Marco was red hot. I've been running real good over the course of the last couple of weeks. But there's Tony Finn as a $2 Tuesday handicapper. How hot are you, Tony? You got to be running real good right now. Tell the folks what you've been doing the last couple of weeks in football.
Okay, well, I'm not perfect. So I think perfect is when you're running really good. It wasn't bad. 6-2. I had a big card for Saturday. A big card for me. 8 plays. It's my largest Saturday card I can remember in 8 years we've been doing this. You guys, 6-2 on Saturday. 4-2. Capped off last night by a play on the Chargers. 4-2 in the NFL. So a pretty good weekend.
And I will say, Tony likes to write. If you like analysis, you get in-depth analysis of Tony Finn's best bets, and they've even created a whole offshoot here, Wager Talk News. Now we've got additional websites, and Tony's filling it up as we speak. But great content from Tony. He is a deep thinker, as Teddy and I know from many NBA tip-off shows with him. By the way, the NBA just a week or so away. We'll have NBA tip-off here on Wager Talk TV in the near future. By the way, baseball playoffs once again start tonight. MLB first pitch off yesterday, no games. We're back today at 1:45 Eastern-ish. And Dave Koken and myself and Drew Martin, we're going to break down that AL wildcard between the Red Sox and Yankees. But Tony Finn, let's look at some college football here. We're looking at an early game this week on Saturday. It's actually early on the card, but it's a 3:30 Eastern game Saturday, but it's near the top of the schedule. And that's Florida State at North Carolina. Boy, I mean, I didn't think I'd see the Seminoles as a 17-point dog at North Carolina anytime in the recent span of things. It just shows, we thought maybe Florida State was turning things around here the last year or so. 0-4 start. They finally got a win last week against Syracuse. They failed to cover, though, only winning by 3. They had that comeback against Notre Dame in week 1, went to overtime and lost, and went 0-3 ATS and straight up after that. Did get a straight-up win last week. What you looking here? I mean, North Carolina, an explosive offensive team, as we know, just blew out Duke, and they do have Miami on deck, but I don't think they're going to overlook Florida State. This is still a big-name opponent. Tony, what do you think of this one Saturday afternoon? Florida State at North Carolina.
Well, I would agree with you. I mean, I never thought that I'd see Florida State as a 17-point dog either, despite the fact that it's a pretty good North Carolina team. A 17-point consensus in truth. It's not like it's a game that's it's off the cuff or anything. And North Carolina has shown some hiccups over this year, over the last 2 years. They came in the season believing, many people, many pundits, that they were going to be they may be the team that would actually challenge Clemson for an ACC title. I think all the offseason talk for this ACC conference is going out the window. The Seminoles, they are who they are. They got their first win last week against the Syracuse team, but defensively they're porous. I'm not sure 17 points is enough, guys. Really, truthfully, in this contest, it's not a number I'm willing to lay, but I do have a lean. I like the over here. If you watched Syracuse last week and the dual threat that they threw at Florida State, it really bothered this FSU defense. And I just think 63. At least I saw 63 this morning when we started talking about this game. I like the north side of that total.
Yeah, the money's coming on the over as we speak. You can find 63.5, and there are 64 starting to pop right now on the Wager Talk live odds screen. So certainly the market's agreeing with your sentiment. This is likely to be a high-scoring game. So I watched the Florida State-North Carolina game last week, or the Florida State-Syracuse game last week, and Syracuse's entire offense was quarterback scrambles. There wasn't a whole lot of downfield passing. There wasn't a whole lot of running the football. It was just a QB making plays, and he was fast. And he was able to outrun North Carolina's defense on a bunch of different big plays for the Orange. But that was it. It wasn't like it was a good offensive showing for Syracuse. No. It was just one mobile quarterback making a bunch of plays. I'm seeing this week that Florida State has some injury problems again on the offensive line. A couple of guys got hurt last week, and it's an offensive line that's problematic. Given that the core of the defense, they weren't giving up a whole lot of passing plays. It wasn't like Syracuse was chucking the ball downfield against them. And given the offensive line concerns for this week, does that mitigate your enthusiasm for the over? Or is this just one of these situations where the Tar Heels are going to be chucking it around and the Seminoles are going to be chucking it around and we can expect points in bunches?
It's not, it's always a concern. Injuries are always a concern when you approach a game, when you're capping it, especially this early in the week. So things can either get complicated or they can get better. In this case, Florida State's dealt with injuries all year long. They've dealt with controversies. Coach Novell, he believes in this team. He's going to stick. He's going to kind of get away from that two-headed monster at quarterback. And I'm confident, really, that this Florida team will get better offensively. I'm uncertain that they're going to get better defensively.
That, once again, is the first game on the board Saturday on the rotation, but it goes now time change, 3:30 Eastern. That's North Carolina at Florida State at North Carolina. 17. There's actually a lot of 17 and a halves out there. I mentioned that's a key number, but Tony likes the over, and that line, as Teddy said, is rising. Also, hard not to like overs in North Carolina Tar Heel games. They can almost get there on their own sometimes. They score in the 50s quite often. Tony, let's turn our attention to the NFL for Sunday. We talked about in depth yesterday here on the show the Raider-Charger Monday night game. Teddy and I just touched on it here in a recap. You're looking at the Raiders now traveling to Chicago. Actually, I'm sorry, Chicago traveling to the Raiders now this Sunday. This line was all over the place. I saw look-aheads earlier last week as high as Las Vegas -7. Saw some 6s. I saw some other places that had a 4.5 at one point. Now it's 5.5. Now that we have a real bettable line out there. Obviously, a quarterback situation for Chicago is probably one of the reasons the look-ahead lines are jumping around, because last week's line against the Lions went from 6 down to 2.5 at one point. What are your thoughts on the Bears, first of all, that quarterback situation, and also your take on the Raiders after the game last night?
First with the quarterback and the Bears, I think we're going to see Fields moving forward. I can't imagine that after the two games he's put in, 9 sacks 2 weeks ago, yesterday or Sunday having some issues as well. He's a rookie quarterback that doesn't have a lot of NFL snaps, and I think that's part of life as a rookie quarterback, for not only for the quarterback, for the coach, for the fans, for the team. And it is. I think you're always going to be a hit and miss with the Chicago offense. I think they're a little bit better defensively. People give them credit, guys. We know that. That's the Bears' defense. Traditionally, at least that's been their calling card year in and year out. It's not always been the case, but it's been their calling card. This year, it's actually what they're going to live and die on. They're going to have to be defensive if they're going to win some games. And I'm one of those that last night was on the Chargers, because I don't listen. You're going to be. It's a tough sell to convince me that this Raiders team was perfect and that there was columns all over the place. I read them yesterday with a smile on my face that they thought, can we position the Raiders to be the favorites to win the AFC West? You two, I know I don't have to tell you two, but maybe the listeners, this offensive line and the moves that the front office and Gruden made, in July and August, I thought were atrocious. I thought to give your running back the money they gave their running back, that should be, and I think you guys also know that maybe the most replaceable animal on an NFL team, at least for skill set, is running back, and it should have gone to the offensive line. I think these Raiders struggle mightily moving forward unless they do some fixes and change the fact that they're going to drop Carr back and let him hold the ball for 3 seconds. Mac and the Bears in Vegas against this offense. Bears aren't going to score much, even against the Raiders' pedestrian defense, and I think the Raiders struggle as well. I kind of like the under here. I'm leaning to the under in this Vegas affair, Chicago and the Bears and the Raiders.
So 44.5, the current total. Now,
Yep.
I am seeing some injury issues for both these teams defensively. In particular,
Yes.
the Raiders with cluster injuries in their secondary after last night's game. That's got to be a significant concern. And we're talking about cluster injuries. We're talking about, their key guys, Damon Arnett, Trayvon Mullen, Nate Hobbs, all questionable. And we'll have to see what the injury report looks like. And for Chicago, they lost Akeem Hicks in the game on Sunday. He's questionable this week as well. And I watched the whole Bears-Lions game, and I'll tell you, once Hicks left the field, the Lions, not that they had trouble moving the football between the 20s anyway, but it had an impact on Chicago's ability to control the line of scrimmage. Do those injuries, again, you said injuries always concern you. Do those injuries concern you enough to talk you off the over here? The under here. Money has come on the under. We're looking at 44.5 now as the current prevailing total.
Those are terrific points, Teddy. As far as the Chicago, or as far as the Vegas injuries go, in the secondaries, those cluster injuries you're speaking of, I believe they have the wherewithal, to supplement those. I'm not very concerned. I'm not concerned. I'm concerned very little about the Bears offense. The other injury, Hicks, is much more concerning. However, I believe that we're getting some favor here in this game. I think you're going to see, first off, that 44.5, it went from 45 to 44.5 surprised me a little bit simply because of the injuries that you mentioned. While this is public money, maybe I'm not quite sure yet until I look a little deeper, but I thought 45 would be at the bottom of this number because of some of the injuries and the way the Vegas has scored and Carr has thrown the ball around the field. We'll see where it goes. If it goes any more than 44.5, you guys, I'm probably going to be much less interested in playing the under. But right now, that's my lean.
Tony Finn, WagerTalk.com, leans under in the NFL game Bears-Raiders and likes the over in the Florida State-North Carolina game. And it's $2 Tony. No, normally you run when you hear it's $2 Tony, but this time you run to him because it's $2 Tuesday for $2 Tony at WagerTalk.com. And he is monster red hot in college football, 75% the last 3 weekends on Saturdays. And he's got a big Saturday best bet in college football for just $2. And it's $2 Tuesday, so it's not $2 tomorrow on Wednesday. He goes back to normal Tony on Wednesdays. Hey, Tony, real quick in the last minute here before on the way out, I talked about WagerTalk.com, WagerTalk News. You've got a nice AL betting preview right there on WagerTalk News. People go to WagerTalk.com, the homepage. Right at the top corner, you'll see WagerTalk TV. That's where you find me and Teddy and Tony today. Yeah. And then right next to that, WagerTalk News to get some great articles and free plays, a ton of free plays with in-depth analysis, more than just the free pick page. Tony, your quick thoughts on the baseball playoffs. Give me an AL and NL pennant champ and champion, and then tell me who you think will win the whole thing.
Well, you called me public, didn't you? In the show, I'm going to pick a wild card to win the whole thing. I listen. It's hard for me to get away from Tampa Bay, the way things set up, the way Houston's been playing, and the biggest question mark for the White Sox is what kind of a meltdown Tony La Russa will have before it's all said and done. But it's hard for me to get away from the best team in baseball. Every metric points to the Dodgers being the best team in baseball, whether it be above average wins, et cetera, et cetera. San Francisco has been incredible. And their story this year, guys, isn't probably going to receive justice unless they win the World Series, because they'll be buried in the story itself. But I like the Dodgers on the senior circuit side. I like Tampa Bay on the junior circuit side, and I actually like Tampa Bay to give the Dodgers a better run than they did last year. Give me the Dodgers and give me the Tampa Bay. Both sides are not getting much value on any futures there, but that's what I like.
Well, you get almost 10-1 if you want the matchup. Rays Dodgers almost 10-1. It's the second most likely after Astros Dodgers. And Tony, we're going to talk more with Dave Sharapan here in a few moments on the show from Vegas, but it's a very unique situation. You've got the overall champs to win like 3-1, the Dodgers 4-1 to win it, and they've only got about a 65%, 70% chance of even making it past this Wednesday to get in the situation to do so. So we're going to talk more on that. And by the way, Tony will be on tomorrow on First Pitch. You will be on tomorrow with Matt Josephs at 1:45 Eastern tomorrow on Wednesday, breaking down that NL game. Thank you, Tony Finn. $2 Toonie. I got myself. $2 Tony for $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. Hey, 20-second break. We're going to be back with Teddy Covers' big game breakdown for Thursday night college football, Houston-Tulane, in just a couple moments.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk some Thursday night ESPN college football. The Houston Cougars traveling to New Orleans to take on the Tulane Green Wave. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing Houston mostly a 6-point favorite. A couple of 5.5s out there. Total sitting in the 59 range as we speak. And look, these are two teams that weren't supposed to be that different coming into the season, but so far they've been extraordinarily different. Houston, since losing to Texas Tech in the opener, and even that game comes with an asterisk because the Cougars dominated the first half and then forgot to show up for the second half, and Texas Tech came back and rallied for the win. But since that time, 4 straight wins for Dana Holgerson's squad, and they've looked impressive in doing so. This last week, the blowout over Tulsa was extremely impressive. So 4 straight wins for the Cougs. Meanwhile, the Green Wave are 1-4 right now. They've lost their last 3, and kind of an ugly showing this past weekend against East Carolina, gashed on the ground in that ballgame. They went up 207 yards per game on the ground. East Carolina had 310 rushing yards on 44 carries last Saturday. And there's more that points to Houston having a better season. Houston, 2 turnovers in the last 4 games. Tulane has 14 turnovers through 5 games. Then you start reading some of these quotes. You know, how's Tulane going to approach a team that blasted them last time they played, a team that's 1-4 to start? What's the mentality of this squad for the Thursday night national TV affair? Willie Fritz, quote, "We're all disappointed. There's no doubt about it. Like I told the guys, we're not going to roll the ball out there and beat people. We have to play well. We don't have to play perfect, but we have to play well." All right, that's the coach saying what the coach is going to say. Let's get some player quotes here. All right. Michael Pratt, the quarterback, quote, "We're working. We had a good practice today. It's a quick week. We got to be able to go out there and get it done Thursday." Talking about the game last year where they had a 24-7 lead that turned into a 49-31 loss. Quote, "I think it'll be a different game than it was last year. We're excited to go out there and put on a show." The nose tackle, Jeffrey Johnson, talking about a defense that really hasn't lived up to expectations so far. Quote, "I tell the younger guys, all you can do is stay positive. The more you give up, everything else fails. You have to keep going and lift each other up and encourage each other. We've been here before. We just have to get that win to get back rolling." Tulane's not a quit team right now. Tulane's a team that's fighting for their season on Thursday night. And if there's one thing I can say about Dana Holgerson coach teams, that I could say with a reasonable degree of confidence, that after a series of good performances, they always come out flat. You see it at program after program. I don't trust the Houston Cougars to go on long winning streaks. They're the better team here, but I think the spot points to Tulane. Give me the Green Wave plus the 6 on Thursday night, ESPN Showdown. And there's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Teddy covers big game breakdown for Thursday night college football. Houston at Tulane. And when Teddy and I started back in the 90s, those Thursday night home dogs were always money in the bank. We used to have the one standalone Thursday night weeknight game, and it's gotten a bit watered down. So we'll see if the Thursday night dog barks this week with the Green Wave. Always a focus spot in a short week for both teams. You know, Teddy, one thing we've seen in the NFL in those short weeks, it does appear the home team often has an edge because you lose one day of practice with the travel, and it's short to start with. Once again, that's Thursday night football. We're going to look at some L football with Carmine Bianco from WagerTalk.com. Then we're going to have Dave Sharapan on afterwards from the Vegas Strip. Carmine, welcome to the show. How has soccer been going for you? I know it gets sometimes swept under the rug from Teddy and myself when we're looking at real football in America, but it's an international sport that's huge. Carm, what's going on with soccer in the world of soccer right now?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's one of those things. It's another sport to bet on if you like it. $20 one betting football in Europe is the same as $20 one betting the Atlanta Falcons. So it's when they win, but it's good. Semifinals of the Nations League, yet another tournament that is running right now, and they're being played on Wednesday and Thursday, and a couple big games and 4 huge teams playing those games. So I'm looking forward to chatting about them with the two of you.
Well, let's get into it, Carm. We've got Italy against Spain. I'm looking at the numbers right now. Italy plus 130, draw plus 210, Spain plus 240, total 2.25 in that game. So these two teams met in the semifinals of this summer's Euro Championship with Italy eventually winning in penalty kicks and going on to win the final as well. They're now playing at home. Does this give them an advantage? Talk about Italy and Spain.
Yeah, one of the things, unlike any other sport where you can use a lot of recency of how teams have played against each other, whether it's basketball, hockey, football, you can't do that in European soccer because a lot of the times these teams will face each other maybe once a year or every 2 years. The luxury we have here is Italy and Spain have played against each other in the semifinals of the Euro Championships at Wembley Stadium. Italy obviously won that game in penalty kicks, a great way to decide a winner, of course, being a little facetious there. But, Italy's playing extremely well. 36 games unbeaten. It is a record in football. You have to go back to 2018, just before the World Cup, where they lost a game to France as their last loss. Playing extremely well. And the game against Spain, Spain played extremely well at Wembley Stadium against Italy. They controlled much of the possession, and I expect to see something similar to that tomorrow in Turin. It's being played at San Siro, Milan. So Italy is the home team, obviously, in this one. But more so than anything else, and a lot of the times I'm not going to dazzle you with stats. I'm just going to talk to you about how teams are playing. Italy is extremely in form. Spain's a good team. But we have to look at what the lineups are going to look like in this game. Italy have a couple players missing, Andrea Belotti and Ciro Immobile. Only Immobile is part of their starting 11, and his on the international scene, especially in that Euro Championship, he really disappointed, didn't do much. Spain have a ton of players, I want to say, missing from their lineup. Gerard Moreno, Alvaro Morata, Jordi Alba, Pedri, Dani Olmo. These are all guys that are part of that starting lineup for that team. They won't be playing, so it's up to that manager, Luis Enrique, to see what he can put together for this game. Still, at the end of the day, Italy's playing extremely well. It's that momentum that you carry on. Sometimes there is a hangover when you win a championship. And Italy might have suffered that in their first two World Cup qualifying games after winning against England in the final, where they came away with a couple draws. But then a 5-0 win at home has got them back on track. Give me Italy here, plus 130. And I'm going to throw out an exact score. Italy to win 2-0, plus 900.
Nice. Plus 900. And 2-0 is also 2-0. 2-0 will work as well, right? 2-0 in soccer.
Yes.
Carm, hey, speaking of totals, this next game, just in general, we've got, underdog money for both teams. And you look at the total of both games, it's 2.25. So that's a split line. You can explain that as well. But the other semifinals, Belgium and France. Belgium, the number one team right now, ranked number one overall. But France was the 2018 World Cup champ. So two big-time programs here. Which way are you going in this game? Explain, obviously it's because of the three-way line, but you get both teams at plus money. That's because you can also bet a tie. But explain that total also, 2.25, 2.25, and who you like in the game itself.
Yeah, as far as the total is, you'll always see some Asian lines where you see 2.25 goals, and you're wondering if I'm betting over or under. How does that come into play? Essentially, your bet, if you're betting the over, your bet is split. 2.25 is a split line of 2 and 2.5. So if you bet 100, 50 is on over 2, 50 is on over 2.5. So if it lands on 2, you're losing half your bet, you're pushing half. Obviously, if it lands on 3 or more goals scored, you're winning all both halves of your bet or your full bet. So that's how the Asian line works. A little confusing, but you'll get used to it. As far as this game goes, listen, France is they're the defending World Cup champions 2018, where they beat Belgium 1-0 in the semifinals. And, Belgium is the number one ranked team by FIFA, which is the governing body of football. But this is a team, still a ton of talent, that has yet to win an international trophy. But it's just, they make it so deep in every tournament that it's much like any other sport where you make a deep run, your ranking is always a lot higher. At the end of it, this is two teams that come off great runs to get into these semifinals. France went 5-0-1, didn't lose a game. Belgium lost one game, 2-1 to England, but still impressive. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with quality over quantity. Belgium wins a ton of games, but just can't make it through that semifinal round. Will they do it here? I'm not entirely sure. This France team is loaded with stars through their starting 11, much like Belgium is, but they've been there before. They've won the big games, and they've beat this Belgium team with the exact same lineups or similar lineups to what we'll see on Thursday. So with that said, yeah, give me the plus 145 on France. And if you're worried about it going into extra time and penalty kicks, where taking either one of these teams would be a losing bet after 90 minutes, you can take France to qualify, which means win the game, whether it's in regulation time, extra time, or penalty kicks. And it's minus 140. So France to qualify minus 140 and France plus 145 to win in 90 minutes.
Carmine Bianco breaking down the world of soccer in a way that neither Steve nor I is capable of doing. Appreciate your time and effort, Carmine. What do you have to promote before we let you go?
Yeah, listen, October has been absolutely fantastic to start 18-6 right out of the gate in October thus far. If you go back even a little further back into September, soccer in itself, a 14-3 run, doing fantastic there. You can get a 7-day all-access package. That's my baseball plays, football plays, college and NFL, and soccer, of course, for only $69, less than $10 a day if you use the coupon code WC50. So that's WC50 at checkout, and that'll give you $50 off that $119 price.
Yeah, and Carm, we joked about soccer, but you said the money is just as green when it cashes. 18-6 start to October, 14-3 run in soccer. That's pretty green right there. So Carmine Bianco, 7 days, all sports, all access, just $69. Coupon code WC50. That's because you're saving $50. It's normally $119. It's just $69 with promo code WC50. Carmine Bianco, WagerTalk.com. Thank you, Carm. Yeah, Teddy, I love the soccer segments, though, because you're getting plus money, you're getting quarter goals. It's definitely a unique betting opportunity. And one guy we will not ask soccer about either, and that's Dave Sharapan. I could throw him under the bus and tell me to give him his soccer best bet, but I won't do that because then he'll throw me under the bus when we're on Game Time Decisions one of these Friday nights on Sirius XM Channel 204. Get on the grid, Sharapan, with Teddy covers also at 8 a.m. Eastern at midnight on Saturdays. Cover it. Another great show on that network. Dave, welcome. You went simple today. You went Red Sox, old school. And
yes, sir.
I'll ask you right out of the gate. Is that who you're backing tonight?
Well, I know this. Every book pretty much on planet Earth is going to need the Boston Red Sox tonight. You opened up as a small favorite, minus 115 in a lot of places. And if you check the current line now, it's pretty much painted 125 or higher. There's still 120, floating around. Somebody just texted me and said somebody just walked into BetMGM this morning and bet $100K on the Yankees. So, yeah, you can't get away from it. Like when you're a book guy, I'm always kind of rooting for the other side or the side that I think would end up being the one the book needs. And 100%, I think the books are going to need Boston. So, yes, me. And I brought this guy with me today. I don't know if you can see him. Yep. Little Rafael Devers bobblehead doll. Yeah, Rafael. Yeah, I picked him up at Fenway Park when I was there this summer. So me and Rafael are going to hang out today and hope that he can hit a home run, plus 400 to hit a home run today, and Boston wins.
Nice.
So when you talk, for a wild card game, do you expect the money to come for the favorite? Is that the way the MLB postseason tends to work? The public like the favorites here. When you see Scherzer tomorrow at minus 230 or whatever the Dodgers are against the Cardinals, is it more chalk in the postseason than you might see in the regular season, or is it just basically the same? The betting patterns change as we get into October for baseball betting.
It doesn't really change too much, Teddy, with the certain teams, like with the brands, like the Yankees. They play 162 games during the season, and you need against the Yankees probably 140 to 145 of them in the book. The Dodgers here in Vegas, there may be 3 games, maybe 6 all year where you need the Dodgers. You need against them every single day. So these 2 games in particular, 1 games with teams, I mean, Boston beat them in the regular season 10-9 and outscored them by a run. I mean, they play pick'em games. There's been some blowouts, but 10-9 doesn't justify to me the Yankees are favored on the road, but the betting does. The Dodgers are going, they ridiculous 51-24 in their last 75 games. And they gained a half a game on the Giants. That's unbelievable. But everybody knows it's the Dodgers and everybody knows it's Scherzer, so everybody's betting them. I think the books tried to cautiously open this thing around 200 minus $2 minus 210. It's paid at 225. So, I mean, plus a run and a half with the Cardinals is got to be a good bet pregame. I think this thing stays under. I think runs are at a premium. It's at that weird start time in Dodger Stadium, so the first couple innings are in the shadows. 5:10 start is really rough in that, sunset is an hour and a half later. So I think unders the play and plus 1.5. I love taking plus 1.5. If you can get it plus money or even money, that's always a good value play for all, sharp guys for years.
Now, when St. Louis went on this, remarkable late season run, and made anyone who backed them a whole bunch of money, it seemed like the markets gave a collective yawn. Like on a day in, day out basis, the steam really wasn't coming on St. Louis, which allowed that streak to be so extraordinarily profitable for anyone who was riding it because the Cards were dogs over and over and over again.
Yep.
Are we seeing any betting market adjustment for St. Louis's late season success? Has this line come out where you thought it was going to? And is it holding where you thought it was going to? Or is it just Dodgers money all the time in the postseason and Scherzer as the most, public Dodgers pitcher and a guy who's had a pretty good track record since arriving in LA, that you just know it doesn't matter how good St. Louis was in September. In October, the money's coming on Scherzer in LA.
100%, Teddy. It's crazy because we saw it. We talked about it when I would come on here on Tuesdays. I mean, there were more days during that 17-game winning streak that the Cardinals were a dog than they were favorites. So, and people, the market bet against them. I mean, it's hard to believe, but usually baseball bettors, sharp guys, they bet those streaks, and there was a lot of people that didn't believe in it. And I don't think anybody believes in them for the game tomorrow. I don't think there's anyone that really thinks that the Cardinals are going to beat the Dodgers tomorrow. And the market's kind of spoken. I think the books, it was funny because we kind of traded, me and a couple of guys, and I said, or do you dare open it less than $2? Like, because I would have probably put it maybe $1.95, but, maybe $2. But you knew which way the bets were going to come, and they did. And they continue to come. And if the Yankees win today and the favorite gets there and they handle them pretty good, tomorrow this thing could end up around 240 before you see the bad guys come in and weigh in on the Cardinals.
Dave Sharapan, Las Vegas, Nevada. Dave, before we get to football, we got to talk some NFL college football, but I want to close out real quick with your baseball thoughts because I know you love baseball, you love softball, it's your sport. Have you ever seen a situation where the future odds, I guess if the Dodgers win like they're supposed to tonight, 67% chance mathematically they win tomorrow. I mean, on Wednesday, nothing changes. But how much will these future odds shuffle if the Cardinals pull the upset? Because you're going to have a situation there where the Giants, are the second favorite behind them, I guess, because the Dodgers could lose. They'd play the Cardinals. And quickly on the Cardinals, too, back in 2011, the last time they won the World Series, you could have gotten them at 1,000-1 in September, bettable odds. I don't know if you remember that season, but they came out of nowhere also that year and did it. Wainwright's still there. I mean, a little bit of consistency still. But just your thoughts real quickly on the Dodgers, 106-win team being in a one-and-done scenario tomorrow, and if they were to lose, how that would shuffle things up.
So I talked to a couple guys over the weekend about their positions kind of in the future books, and they're all rooting for the Giants to lose. Like no one adjusted the Giants odds quickly enough. That's a lot of books' biggest liability. So the sooner they can get them out, the better. I think the consensus is that if it's the Dodgers, they can, help them out and take the Giants out. Because the Dodgers price has never really been over 3 or 4 to 1. The Giants was a lot higher than that. We're talking 80 to 1. Some 100 to 1s were out there. So yeah, Steve, it's really interesting. I think if St. Louis wins the game, if it was my book, I would adjust the odds on everyone else in the National League except the Giants and go get some Brewers money, go get some Atlanta money really quick, and definitely try to get some St. Louis money. The one guy I talked to said, if St. Louis wins the World Series, this is great. We'll kill it. We'll make it, it'll be a great result for us. So I think, Teddy's right. Like St. Louis, what they're doing, unless you're a real baseball fan or somebody that bets it on an everyday basis, doesn't know or doesn't care.
Let's shift our focus to the National Football League with Dave Sharapan at Sports
deep with that one,
Sig on Twitter. Oh yeah, it gets deeper than that if I have to.
I like
it. At Sports BK Consig on Twitter, veteran odds maker both here in Las Vegas and in the offshore world. And Dave, we're 4 games into the season now. We're at the quarter pole in the NFL. What are the public teams this year, and what are the teams that aren't getting any money? Is it the usual suspects, or have we seen any other teams besides the Buccaneers and the Chiefs be the public teams for 2021? Are we seeing that? Has it happened yet, or is it still a little bit early to determine who the betting public's going to like on a week in, week out basis?
I feel like as you throw it to me, I should go deep or something like that, but I can't do it like you. It's awesome every time you do it. Yeah, between the big game breakdown and the get on the grid. It's Arizona, Teddy. Arizona, I don't know if you know, they're the last undefeated team, and they're going to go to the Super Bowl, apparently. I mean, it's already decided. So, but that has been the team that has been backed. I mean, last week against the Rams, that number came way down. I think odds makers overshot that number based on the result, but that was one of the dogs where they continue to just bet Arizona. And obviously the other one in the AFC is Buffalo. I mean, one of the great mysteries, I think, of the NFL season so far is how the Pittsburgh Steelers went to Buffalo and won in week 1, because the Steelers are just terrible, and Buffalo is now running like everybody kind of thought they were, winning and blowing teams out, scoring a lot of points, playing excellent defense. Now, granted, it hasn't been against really good teams, but that's one of those things that now you punch that ticket. And that it'll be so interesting to see, because we saw last week that Sunday night game was one of the biggest handle games in a regular season in the last decade. It was just a perfect storm. All the baseball games were done. There was nothing else going on except Sunday Night Football, and it was Tom Brady returning to Foxborough. And it was a 90%er. I mean, 90% of the bets were on Tampa, and the books did their exact thing that you're supposed to do. You get to a number, you get the interest of the bad guys, the sharp guys, all your pros, whoever you got. They told them it was 7, back to 6.5 and take bets. I don't know which team is next in that regard. It might be Cleveland, Teddy. Can I dare say that it might be Cleveland? They backed Cleveland. They didn't this past weekend against Minnesota, but this is the 3rd game of a 3-game road trip, right? Like, it's really interesting to me to see that number, because it's 1.5 now, pretty much standard, and it's the Chargers favored. So now we'll see if this number floats, where it ends up the Browns favored. But those are the ones that jump out to me that you didn't mention. And then it's the usual characters. I mean, Tampa, Kansas City, Green Bay, all those, they're still rolling right along.
Is Dallas hot? I want to ask about 2 teams in particular real quick before Steve asked you about college football. We only have just a few minutes left here with Dave Sharapan. But are the Cowboys officially a public team now? And are the Steelers officially a public is going to fade this team?
Well, I think that we'll answer the 2-part question. We'll go second with the Steelers first. I think the Steelers were a backed team against the Packers by the sharp guys. They took that number, got it 6.5, said, all right, they're going to keep this thing close, might have a shot to win. Offensively, Ben can't perform the job right now. I mean, he just can't throw the ball. The offensive line doesn't block. I think they're going to be a fade, which, again, as they are 1-point favorites. You'll probably see it open Denver on top. Sharp guys told you, we're going to take the 1.5. They're going to take the point with Denver. Denver's probably going to end up favored. Dallas is interesting because this week they weren't the team to bet on. Carolina was the public dog, one of the main ones that a lot of people kind of fell into. I think now Dallas will be a play on. I think you're absolutely right. They were against Tampa late. They were at the Chargers, and I think they ended up being it was pretty two-way action against the Eagles. So, yes, I think to answer your question, Dallas will get that love that always comes with the Dallas bets.
Dave Sharapan, Las Vegas expert, sports book expert. Dave, real quick, the last minute we have with you here.
Yes, sir.
I just like the word expert. Sounds
it's fun, isn't it?
No, but you really do. I love the knowledge, too. That point you brought about Cardinals real quick, about the Giants, rather, is that you're so right about that. Because you look right now, they're right behind the Dodgers in the future odds, and that's because it's a discounted price because they don't want any more action on the Giants. Correct. They were not expected to be. So it's such an excellent point. So I want to transfer that over to our college football talk real quick. Just future odds here. I mean, it's a two-way battle right now. I'm looking at offshore, a U.S. book, a couple of these. They both have Georgia and Alabama even. Like they're both about 1.5 to 1. And then after that, it's Ohio State, who already has a loss. There's not even one of the two top 4 Big Ten teams, Iowa, Penn State, playing each other this weekend. And then you got Oklahoma, who's looked underwhelming. Obviously, Georgia, Alabama, pretty easy road the rest of the way. Georgia's got Florida on a neutral field. Bama's got LSU at home, at Auburn. Georgia's at Auburn. They got at A&M this week. That could be the big game for Bama, obviously. But assuming it's going to be Georgia, Alabama undefeated, they'll both get there regardless who wins the championship game. But your thoughts on college football, anything you're hearing, do the future odds get hit as hard here, or is it really just the NFL that gets all that future money?
The NFL dominates the future market because there's teams that can win it other than the favorites. In college football, if you're watching the games, Alabama and Georgia are playing a different game. I mean, up to this point, there's no one that I think can go to their field and win. Even each other. I think if Alabama went to Georgia, I think they would lose. If Georgia came to Alabama, I think Alabama would win. So but they're so much better than everyone else. It's interesting now in the future odds of the adjustments that have to be made because Clemson is out. Clemson's done. They're not even a factor in the decision anymore. So you can throw them out. You have to throw a bunch of teams in. Big game in Kinnick Stadium this week. Penn State, Iowa. Personally, for me, Penn State guy. But it's a big game overall in the whole scheme of things because one of them is going to propel themselves basically into that playoff spot. As far as actionable info, and I know Prez is not here, but I always try to come with a couple actionable info points. Arizona State was an early play. That game's a Friday night game. Stanford at Arizona State. That opener was under 10, and now it's over 10. So I know a couple guys told me that was a play. And the one other game was the Penn State game. Some places, I get that text, what do you make the game? And I said I would make Iowa -2.5 and hope they bet Penn State at that number. Well, they opened at pick and took the bets up the ladder. So there was a couple books open pick, couple books open -1, pretty much painted 2.5. So I think the early money spoken that Iowa's going to hold home court at home. I hope they're wrong. But I think the books are going to end up needing Penn State by game time on Saturday.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, Dave. Circa opened at pick, and then one of the offshores opened at 2.5, and within 10 minutes they'd met at 2.5, basically. And that's obviously a very key number. And the total's 41.5, low-scoring game. That extra half point is a huge difference. Also, by the way, just looking at it quickly, Ohio State plays Penn State at home. They do not play Iowa. Yeah. So if Iowa does win that game, they have a much easier road to remain in that situation. Cincinnati is going to be a huge favorite in every game on the way out. They should be in that top 4 by default. So you're really talking about one team fighting for that final spot, Georgia, Alabama, Cincinnati. So we'll see how it plays out. Dave Sharapan, thank you for the actionable info. I will text it to the Prez. Anxiously awaits. And on the way out, Sirius XM, channel 204, get on the grid. We see you all the time. You've got a great podcast. Tell us about that. You're a great Twitter follow. Tell us where people can find you.
Sports BK Consig on Twitter. Cash Considerations is the podcast. It's available wherever you find podcasts, as well as now on YouTube. You can watch it as well. So you get to see it and listen to it at the same time. Another show called 8 in the Box. And then MLB Network did the show yesterday, playoff preview. That's available. And then we're going to do some stuff later as the playoffs progress. They have a couple ideas in mind. So just follow along on Twitter and you'll be able to see it. And before I go, Merrill, your haircut looks tremendous. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it looks excellent. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, this no pun intended. It's not a head fake. This is a real haircut. Prez last Wednesday when I was on said, "You got a haircut?" And no, I was 5 minutes in the sink, wetting down a 5-month haircut. This is the cut. I'm feeling quicker, Dave. I took 2/10 off my 40 time, so I'm ready to go.
Wow!
Thank you, my
man. You can still run a 40. That's impressive.
No.
See you boys later. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dave. I'll talk to you soon. Dave Sharapan from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy Covers, thank you, my man. We're going to do it one more time tomorrow. Then the Prez is scheduled to be back on Thursday, so I'll be sitting in again tomorrow, Wednesday. Another great show. We're going to have Arthur DeCesar, another great bookmaker from the Vegas area. And, of course, thank you once again to Tony Finn, $2 Tuesday, $2 Tony at WagerTalk.com. Carmine Bianco and you, Teddy, for having me here once again. Take us out. Let us know what you've got going at WagerTalk.com. And anything else you want to close with?
That's going to wrap it for today's edition. No time for promo. We're 6 minutes late already. Enjoy the games. Good luck tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow right here on Wager Talk Today. Cheers.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.